Thank you so much. So I'm excited to get to be able to speak with you all this morning and just pour out a little bit of what God pours into me. I'm going to talk to you today about moving forward. I don't know about you, but for me, that song, I'm alive, wow, so difficult to say. So difficult to not feel guilty in the midst of saying, I'm alive, God, breathe on me. One of the hardest things that I've had to do in this journey is figure out how to move forward, one step at a time, and how to move forward without leaving what was behind. Because you understand, any of you that know me know I married way up. I'm not ashamed to say it. Sheila has known me for years. She's like, yeah, totally. I married way up. My husband was a man of integrity, and he was brilliant. He had 163 IQ, and every day when I walked in the door, I was stupid, and I was great with it. It was perfect. Like, I could come home and not think. Because it didn't matter what I thought, he was going to outthink it. But he would never, ever disrespect me. A beautiful marriage was what I got to share in. And I know some of you had that very same thing. But I also know some of you well enough to know that you didn't. That maybe your marriage wasn't easy. Maybe your marriage wasn't what you thought that it was. But no matter which side of that we get to stand on, at some point we have to stop switching from side to side, and we have to move forward. One step at a time. After my husband Daryl died, my pastor looked at me and he said, Terry, there are going to be people watching you. I was like, wow, no pressure there. Thanks for the warm fuzzies. But he was right. Because if I am who that I say that I am, if I am a Christ follower, if I pray every day, God, anoint me to speak to your people, to tell them of your glory, to show them that no matter what this life hands you, you are still God. If that's me, if I am who I say that I am, then people have to see that when life gets really cruddy. And we all know it's just about as cruddy as it gets, right? Yeah, let's be honest. This is not a club that any of us wanted to be in. It's not a path that any of us wanted to walk. We didn't go and go, yeah, I'm all in for this. It's like, really, God? Really? But you know what? That's okay. Because God is so big and so mighty and so amazing and so full of grace and mercy that he can take our questions. So don't feel bad when you go, really, God? Really? But figure out how to move forward. And so today, I'm going to give you some of those things that will help you move forward. Now, my friend Carmen is up there running slides for me. Carmen said, hey, I'm putting doctor on there. Just ignore it. It's not the doctor that makes any kind of money, okay? But they think it's funny when they call my phone and it says, this is Dr. Teri Cox, how can I help you? They're like, really, Terry? Because Terry and Dr. Cox are very different people, okay? Y'all have seen it, right? Like, you've seen Terry come out of here, like that whole announcement thing last night? That's Terry. She a hot mess. I mean a hot mess. But Dr. Cox, professional in my business world, right? So, two very different personalities, but one person who has to figure out how to move forward without leaving the past behind. So, moving. I actually did this. I went to dictionary.com and I looked up words because, yes, I am a nerd. That's the kind of doctor I am. I'm a geek like that, right? So I'm like, ooh, let's figure out what that really means. So I go to dictionary.com and the definition for moving is causing or producing motion. Now, I don't know about any of you, but for me, my husband's death definitely caused and produced motion. Absolutely, it produced motion. Sometimes that motion felt like bear wrestling. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know how long it's staying. You don't know what body parts are going to be missing when it gets gone. You don't know whether you're going to bleed out and die there too. And you don't know how long that attack's going to last. And if that bear is going to run away. It's like bear wrestling. Sometimes that motion is like bear wrestling. Other times that motion is like a hound dog. Now, I'm from the South, so y'all just got to roll with me on that, right? Hound dog. Hound dogs run in circles many times, chasing their tail. Don't ask me why. Obviously, they're not very smart. But they do these things. They'll run in circles and they chase their tail. And sometimes grief is like that. We are running in circles, but we are worn out when we're done and we have gotten nowhere. We are still standing in the exact same place where we started, and all that is around us is a cloud of dust that makes us dirtier and angrier because we haven't moved. But we are worn out from it. So yeah, it causes motion. But how do I get from this bear wrestling, rolling around on the ground with limbs missing, and half of me's gone, and anybody that knows me knows it's the better half of me that is gone. Much better person than I could ever hope to be in my entire life. And it wasn't this, oh, we're going to come in with a Ginsu knife and make a knife clean cut, and half of you's gone. No, it's this gnashing and ripping and tearing and shredding of parts of me that leave me jagged. So how do I get from that motion to a motion that moves me forward? Well, then I have to look at the word forward. What does forward mean? And according to dictionary.com, forward means toward or at a place, a point, or time in advance, onward, ahead. Onward and ahead were pretty hard for me. Onward and ahead were really, really hard for me. So sorry. So let's look at moving a little bit deeper. When we look at moving, those things that happen, like the hound dog thing, we can also go to the Bible and go, okay, who moved? How about Jonah? In the middle of the belly of the whale. Probably not the ride that Jonah expected to take that day when he woke up. Oh, whale rides. Let's get dressed for that. I mean, what does that even look like, right? No. It's not something that you plan on. But here's the deal, ladies. If God calls you to move, you've got to move. Because if you don't, you wind up in the belly of the whale, and he's still going to get you to Nineveh, where he wanted you to go. So, moving. The Israelites wandered around the desert for 40 years. I have a passion for Israel. I love the nation of Israel. I literally flew from there to here to be with you this week. There's no place in America that calls to my heart like my spiritual home of Israel. It is where I step off of a plane and I go, oh God, yeah, I remember you're here. This is your chosen land. And I have that here in America. Don't get me wrong. I've got a great church. Half the people you see on that platform are here because they love me and they go to that church. I have great friends. I have great family. But in Israel, my heart and my spirit sing in a different voice and volume. Go someday. It will make the Bible come to life for you in ways that you could never have imagined, ever. But the Israelites are kind of a stiff-necked people. They're a little hard-headed, and they didn't listen to God. And they wandered around a desert for 40 years on what should have been an 11-day journey. 11 days is all it was to the promised land. But I know exactly where you sit. And we feel like we've been wandering around this wilderness for 40 years. God, how do we get out of the wilderness? How do we get to the promised land? Of Jeremiah 29:11 that says, I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. God, where is that? Ladies, it's forward. It's forward. It's time in advance. David cried out in the middle of the desert, how long, God? How long must I wait? How long will you forget me? How long, God? It's not wrong to cry out, how long? It's not wrong to cry out, why? But to move forward. Our question has to shift from why to now what? Because why requires a response from God. And if God answered us and said, oh, Teri, this is why I took Daryl, I would still probably look at him and go, really, God? It wouldn't be good enough. Because I would behind that say, but God, didn't you see that we were church planners? But God, didn't you see that we loved people around us and poured into them and ministered in your name? But God, didn't you see that we adored each other and knew every day how blessed we were? So even if God said to me, Teri, this is why, I dare say, I would still say, but God, couldn't we have done more together? Couldn't your name have been glorified through his perfect healing? Wouldn't we have given all that back to you? See, the deal is, why requires a response from God that we're never going to get on this side of earth. And it requires a response from God that even if we got, we probably wouldn't accept. But now what? Now what requires a response from me. I don't have to like it. I don't have to love it. I don't have to want it. But I have to be able to get into the middle of it and say, now what? Now what, God? Now what is the ministry that you want me to do? Because I wanted, God, to be a speaker and a singer, and my husband was the production guy. And now he's not there. And God, I wanted to lift up your name with a marriage that glorified who you were, but my husband, now God, he's not there. So now what? When you become courageous enough, ladies, to answer the question of now what, God will provide an answer. But I'm going to tell you something. It may not be the one you expected at all. He may take you to a Nineveh that you never expected to go to. I love these guys sitting behind me. But they go to a church in a town called Cabot. And I swore to God 13 years ago I would never go back to that city to live. Hello. That's what happens. God's little ha-ha joke. Oh no, Teri, you're going to live there and you're going to worship there. And that's your ministry. And that was fun, wasn't it? Yes, God, that was fun. That's what he does. He takes us to places that we don't imagine that we were going to go. But I'm telling you now that he does still have a plan for you. That he does still have a purpose for you. That you are alive. And he will breathe on you. I remember the very first breath that I took. It was 6 months after Daryl died. I remember standing in the middle of a foyer of my friend's home in Florida, and I looked at the ocean, and I breathed. That's what that feels like. I remember this. I remember this. Forward, time in advance, onward, ahead, Revelation 21:5 says, God will restore a new heaven and a new earth. He who is seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. And then he said, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. Now mind you that God was speaking to the nation of Israel about his restoration of this earth. But God is still seated on the throne. And he is still the God who can make everything new. And write this down. His words are trustworthy. And so if he loved you before, he loves you today. If he had good plans for you before, he still has them now. If he knew your name and the number of hairs on your head before, he still knows it now. If he created you to be his warrior princess daughter, he's still got a battle for you today. Now, right here, in this place, he's still got a plan. So, how do we move forward? 3 things. Very simple and yet very difficult at the same time. We move forward by fellowship. Fellowship with others who want us to move. Because let's be real honest, there are people around us who leave us in the midst of this journey. There are people that won't move forward with us. We will lose friends. We will lose family. Not fair, but reality. Right? Truth. So fellowship with others who want us to move. You are in a room right now with ladies who want you to be able to move. Let them pour into you. Let them love on you. Let them help restore you. Let them show you what one step looks like. The second thing is faith. To know that it's okay to move. And that's hard, right? It's okay to move. We have to have the faith in ourselves and in the God that we serve to know that it's okay to move. That I can move forward without denying or forgetting what is behind me, because actually that's what holds me up as I move forward. It is what makes me stronger. It is what makes me who I am, because I bear wrestled. But I survived. Not because of who I am or what I do, but because of who God is and what he does. The third thing is fellowship, faith, and freedom. Freedom in your mind to move forward. It is that ganas, desire to move. Those are the 3 things that we need. To be able to not run in a circle, we have to have fellowship with people who want us to move forward. We have to have faith that it's okay to move forward and still honor what we have. And we have to have the freedom in our own selves to be able to move. To release the shackles, to take off the sash that says I'm a widow. And put it on the shelf with God's crown. And move forward. With honor. With standards that say, my life has changed because of that wrestle. And my life has changed because of that man. With honor, we move forward. So, today, I want you to think about just moving forward, one step at a time. And I want you to think about a practical way to do that. What does that look like for you? Does it look like giving yourself the freedom to move? Does it look like asking somebody to help you move? Maybe somebody you meet here that becomes your friend, that wants to move with you. And you walk this journey together. But what is your step? Ladies, what is your next step that moves you forward? I don't know that for you. But God does. Lean in. Lean in. And if all you can do to pray is say the name Jesus, there is power in that name. And that prayer will be heard. Even if it's all you can say. Jesus. Jesus. Let's pray. God, we thank you so much. That's all. We just thank you. We thank you that you are who you are and that you love and adore us. We thank you that in this life, though we have had trials, you will still show us how to move. God, we thank you that despite ourselves and despite our struggles and despite our missing parts, you're still amazed by us. That you still love us and you still choose us and you still get glory from our smiles. That you still want the best for us. God, we thank you. Father, help us to be able to move forward. Just one step at a time. And give each one of these ladies today exactly the next step that they need. Show it to them, God. Clear the path. Make the way. Let your word be a light unto their feet. Let them look up to the hills and know that you are where we find help. Oh, God. One step at a time. Let us walk to your cross. And God, if we can't walk today, help us crawl. And God, if we can't crawl today, then let people that come alongside us, just like they came alongside the lame man who needed your healing touch, God, and let them pick up our bed and carry us towards your cross. God, one step at a time, let our hearts learn to beat again. Let our lives be used for your glory and your honor and your kingdom to make your name more famous. Oh God, today, it is our prayer. Today. And we make it in the matchless name of Jesus, Yeshua, your one true Son, God.